Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamualaikum. Jianu, Pacheraagale, Ni Hao, Chunashumme, Washmale. Ohai Gazaimas, Guten Morgen, Hola, Bonjour, Privyet, Kaifa Hal? Haleshuma Chature, Ahlan Masal, Marhaba, Buna, Mucho, Gracias, Wabi, Balli Kare Aya. Hoş geldin, Raya Sayo, Khuyamora, Chivato, Chihal Jod, Kalimera, Khairutan, and a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PT World and watching World this morning, alongside my very well-learned colleague who happens to be Miss Hajar Satti. I happen to be Shahzad Hassan Khan, and we hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. The weather over here in Islamabad is magnificent. I think it's far extraordinary. You know, you feel like having samosas, pakoras, jalebis, and whatever. But ladies and gentlemen, I don't think that, at this particular age of mine, I should actually be consuming such food as well. But first things first, hello Hajar, assalamu alaikum. How are you doing on a blessed Friday morning over here in Islamabad?
Walaikum assalam. Thank you so much for introducing me. Juma Mubarak to you and everyone out there who's watching us. Alhamdulillah, weather is very nice, fine, pleasant. And I think it's a bit chilly and cold outside because it was intensely raining last night, and there was also a hailstorm out there.
Oh, really?
And yes, and we can see that this weather pattern, it's not just particularly for the Pakistan. We can see that this weather pattern is also shaping up the weather contours of the UAE, of Dubai, of Oman, Bahrain. And there was a very interesting bit of the conversation, especially on the weather patterns, that maybe because of the intensity of the rains that the UAE and Dubai has been receiving. So some people are saying, some scientists are contesting that this is because the UAE might be doing the cloud seeding there. But the scientists from within the UAE, they said that they did not do the cloud seeding this time around. It is the natural weather pattern that has been doing, and the cloud seeding is particular phenomena, especially for the water scarce areas or the countries out there who do not receive the rainfall. So what they do is they put some chemicals in the clouds, and because of that, so there's a build of the water inside the clouds, and there's sort of an artificial rain out there.
True.
But this time around, we see that there's such an intensity of the rain in UAE, and we've seen that their arteries are clogged because they did not construct a good sewage system, because they are not attuned to receiving this sort of amount of the rain. And we in the Pakistan, we are also receiving the same weather pattern, because that is the same weather pattern, according to the Met Department, that had entered from the Oman to Pakistan. And I think let's have more conversation on that, and that too with the pictorial representation, because our team has created a package on that. So why not go and look at that?
Exactly. So let's go. Let's take a good look.
Intense rainfall and thunderstorms as National Disaster Management Authority issued advice. As per the latest projections from the National Emergency Operations Center and multiple weather models, Pakistan may expect a series of moderate to intense weather systems to April 29th. These weather patterns are anticipated to bring heavy rains, thunderstorms and hailstorms, posing significant risks to various parts across the country. The forecast indicates that a weather system entered Pakistan on April 17th, initiating a period of heavy rainfall, thunderstorms lasting until April 22nd. The system will influence Balochistan from April 17th to April 19th, followed by impacts on Punjab and Sindh from April 18th to April 19th. Upper Punjab will experience the effects from April 18th to April 20th, while Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Gilgit-Baltistan and Azad Jammu and Kashmir will be affected from April 17th to 22nd April. Following this, a weaker weather system is expected to enter Pakistan on April 23rd, bringing low rainfall and thunderstorms to certain parts of the country until April 24th. While Balochistan and Upper Punjab will experience slight impacts from April 23rd to April 24th, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, Gilgit-Baltistan and AJK will also be affected. However, Sindh is not expected to be impacted during this period. Subsequently, a strong weather system is forecasted to enter Pakistan on April 25th, bringing heavy rain, thunderstorms and hailstorms with occasional gaps until April 29th. This system will affect Balochistan from April 25th to April 29th with intermittent gaps. Sindh will experience impacts on April 25th, 26th, 28th, while South Punjab will be affected from April 27th to April 28th. Upper Punjab will face the brunt from April 26th to April 29th, while Khyber Pakhtunkhwa will experience effects from 25th to 29th April, potentially impacting GB and AJK from April 25th to April 29th. The expected rainfall may trigger flash floods in local nallas of vulnerable areas, including Khuzdar, Ziyarat, Yob, Shirani, Muslim Bagh, Quetta, Pishin, Keech, Panjgod, Gawadar and Tarbat. Flooding may also occur in low-lying areas during the forecast period, particularly in southern western Balochistan. In the light of these projections, the National Disaster Management Authority has issued instructions for provincial disaster management authorities, district disaster management authorities and other relevant line departments to remain vigilant and prepared to respond to any emergent situations. It is imperative for departments to ensure the replacement of machinery and the availability of relevant staff in vulnerable areas. Fahad Ahmed Missan, PTV World, Islamabad.
It is certainly, it is imperative for the departments to kind of look out for the machinery and the equipment so that they're there to help as well. We really need to take a, proactive approach, because this is something which has been missing over here. And that's the element that we have discussed with the officials from the National Disaster Management Authority as well. But on the other hand, I believe that it's the people, who are at the brunt of it, who really need to kind of take those precautionary measures that, okay, God forbid, if something like this is going to happen, what are we going to do? Because unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, even on the coastal highway, for all of those people who were traveling, they can't travel anymore because of the rains. So for everybody and anybody who's actually planning to go somewhere, please make sure that you keep an eye on how the weather forecast trends are going to be in near future. Just be safe. That's exactly what we want. That's what Pakistan television wants. That's what Pakistan government wants for its people as well. But with that, that's not the only disaster which people come across, Haja. There are so many other multiple issues in life, because in a multifaceted life, we do come across such challenges, which at times we have to go to a court too, and at times it's really a problem for you to kind of pick up, okay, who's going to be a good lawyer for you? That's one question. But how do you make yourself a good lawyer? I think that's the kind of conversation which we will be having today. And not just that, the best part is that this lady who happens to be over here with us happens to be amongst one of the few ladies who've actually done so well in such little time, because of the fact that she happens to be a managing partner with a law firm which happens to be the most prestigious in the country. Not just that, she opened up her or probably registered her own firm in Dubai, for her to kind of go beyond borders and practice that. We will certainly be talking about her life and how she managed so much, and that too in such little time. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who happens to be a lawyer herself, an advocate High Court as well. She is Miss Amara Kazmi. She is, Assalamu Alaikum. Thank you so much for joining us. You're phenomenal. Thank you so much for taking our time.
Walaikum Assalam. Good morning, and thank you so much for such a warm welcome.
Well, I like the contentment, because all of a sudden when we went on air, we were different. Now we are different as well. I loved it, because every time I think we have been in conversation with people who've represented such prestigious, amazing profiles. I think that, it's always an honor for us to have them over here so that people can draw inspiration from them. We go out in 47 different countries. People write to us. So thank you so much for taking our time. Wonderful to have you over here. How did you do so much in such little time? That's the question.
Well, it's a long story, but to cut it short, I graduated in the year 2014 from University of London External Program. I did my law, LLB, and then I started practicing. And the moment I started practicing, it was the highs and the lows, but I managed to actually, pass through that. There are few people who would like to just stay in-house and just only practice corporate, but no, I went before the civil courts, I practiced before the civil courts as well, and I practiced before the high courts as well. As well as I was doing the works which were primarily corporate and commercial law. I gained my expertise from there. And then when COVID happened, so that was a very tough year for me. I left the job. I practiced for 5 years with a law firm, and then I left the job, and it was COVID-19.
Yeah.
In February, I decided to open up. It took the hard decision to open up my own law firm, and rest is history. And then each year was better than the last one.
It's good. So we have to break it down for our people out there as well, because all of a sudden they would think that okay, she just did her external program, and then she went for a job, then she quit her job, she opened up her own firm. Now let's get started with where once you got your LLB, and then there you were, representing in front of or probably within the civil courts and wherever, or probably high court as well. How was it for you, first-hand experience, going as a woman over here in Pakistan and representing your cases? Was it difficult? Was it challenging? Were people oogling? Were people like, okay, she's just somebody new. I don't think that she's going to survive. There's so many things that people would call out, right? So how did you take on to that, and what were the things that you had to go through?
Okay, first of all, let me appreciate all the women who came before me.
MashaAllah.
And they made the path easier for us.
Wow.
And we coming into the field are trying our level best to make the path easier for the women or the girls who are going to come right now.
True.
When I graduated from the university, at that time the famous English drama serial was on air, and it was Suits and
Yeah.
The Good Wife. And so it was basically all about lawyers and how corporate lawyers behave, and then they practice, and it's all easy. They just are suited, booted, and nothing is wrong. You know, they're making
So
millions.
that's the kind of image you had.
So that's the kind of image I had, but it was cut short to the moment I entered district court. I mainly practice in Islamabad district court. That's another level of good experience as well, I'd say. Although there's always a need for reforms in a system, but it's a good learning because you come across the reality, you come across the real issues that are there. So not only just I started off with a corporate practice, but I practiced the areas of civil
Okay.
and practice the areas of constitutional law as well before the High Court. So yes, as you said, that there were first of all there is a little bit of people would say, okay, you have done the foreign degree, so
Yeah.
what are you doing here in the district courts? And you're fluent in English. Normally people are not. So that is something that you come across, but then you immediately learn the ways
Yeah.
of how people practice.
But you got to be smart about it, right? You know,
Yes.
so to immediately learn the ways, it's probably over here in Pakistan, there's a term which we coin and we say that, this particular gentleman or lady is street smart, right?
Yes.
So do you think that, for somebody to be street smart, it's really essential, when you are probably, into such a field where, we call you a lawyer or probably advocate high court?
One has to be, and an added injury to my career was that I did not have a law background. Like my family was a completely
Nobody
business
was a
family,
lawyer.
so nobody was a lawyer. So for me, it was an uphill task to actually go out there and represent myself as a lawyer. I had the required confidence, like because I was debating, I was winning the debates, and I was in the competitions and all that. So that was not a problem. But yes, when you are entrusted with a case, when you know that anything can go wrong
And
with
people
the
trust
case,
you,
and people
it's
trust
their
you.
lives and it's their money.
Yes. So for first 5 years, when you are associated with the law firm, they don't let you come in front. They just, try to teach you the professional way, how to, present a case, how to make a brief.
Yep.
So one thing that I also tell my students as well, I've taught in Perrier University, so one thing that I tell my students as well, that you have to very carefully choose your senior. So the seniors can either make you or break you. So you have to be
But
very
we never
careful.
get a chance to choose, right? We never get a chance to
but
choose a senior.
I think in the law practice, it is a different thing altogether. But Ms. Amara, so you have lots of feathers, I would say, in your cap. And one of the things that I find really striking in your CV is that you have inaugurated the Research Center of International Criminal Law, which is a research-based, a sort of a think tank, right? So why did you feel the need of having this think tank? And would you mind elaborating, so what's new in the field of research when it comes to law?
It's a very good question. When you are practicing, when you're a lawyer, so when you have graduated, so it's just not only simply that you will sit there, people will come to you with their problems, and then you will present before the court. There's so many things that a lawyer can do, and one of the things is to contribute in the academic side. So continue to contribute in the academic side. Side by side, litigation is there, corporate and commercial practice is there, the clients are literally, they're not looking at the time. But side by side, what you have to do is, whatever you have learned, you have to contribute, you have to give back to the profession that you have learned. So that was the idea, where it was initially, I'll give this credit to one of my junior, my student as well. He is practicing in criminal law. So he came up with this idea, and I was like, sure, why not? I will take it further, because now I enjoy the position where I can actually...
And that you want to give back.
Want to give back. So this is just a newly initiated chapter of my law firm, and I intend to give it a broader aspect.
So to speak about the broader aspect of it, so when we speak about such a research facility being available, do you think that this facility is available for anybody and everybody who can come up to your firm and be like, this is the kind of problems that we come across, and we certainly want to utilize, your services? Or is it only for the people who work in your
I
firm?
think that's very important, the question of accessibility, because if you see that there are lots of amazing case studies in the Harvard Business Review, and as a faculty member I also access them, but then again you have to pay a certain amount of the
Yep.
money to get through that paywall and access them, and obviously belonging to third world countries, it's always a problem, right?
And it's even a problem for students too, Haja. You got to realize that, Ivy League
Not
cases,
just-
whenever my
no-
teacher would give me.
Not just students, I think for the faculty members from the people of the third world countries, because I mean the way the inflation is going on, we can't afford that,
$40,
right?
that's it. Tankhah chali gayi aadhi.
Of course, and why would we do that just for one case study, right?
Yeah.
So I think accessibility is a huge problem. But then again, when we talk about the research and connecting it and licensing it with the academia and the market, that's very much important. But when we talk about the law, so Ms. Amara, we've seen that there are lots of alternative dispute resolution centers that are popping up in the Pakistan. So do you feel that they are the solution to the backlog of the cases that are burdening our justice system?
Again, it's a very good question, and thank you for asking me. The change is coming. In the West, the alternative dispute resolution mechanisms are very much there. So rarely people would approach the court. If the legal system mandates it, then yes, you have to go to the court. Otherwise, people would resort to arbitration, mediations, and all of these other alternative dispute resolution. In Pakistan, the judiciary is also focusing on that because of the huge amount of caseloads that are there. Now it has been considered mandatory for every civil dispute to go through a proper mediation process. So both parties have to give their consent to a mediation process. That will ease the process as well, and also resolve the issues beforehand, before it becomes really complicated. But one thing, the lawyers are still struggling with the mentality of the people. For example, I would say in a very desi way that you say, "Main court se jeet kar aaya hoon," so
Yeah.
court ka case hai. So the mentality of where people would like to associate themselves as being powerful, as getting a order from the court
And
or
there's
something.
another one over here as well, in terms of mentality of the people. For example, if somebody came from civil court, मैं civil court से जीत के आया हूँ,
Exactly.
कहेगा बेटा चल अभी तुझे high court लेके चलता हूँ.
Exactly.
Things like that.
But corporate sector has improved a lot. The costs are also similar somewhat, where one feels it with the litigation as well.
Yep.
But the corporate sector is now entirely has changed up, so they would rather prefer to resolve their issues via arbitration, mediation, but there is still a lot of work that is required to do. About the civil cases, the process has been initiated, the proper forums have been made, the proper lawyers are being trained to mediate. But I'm just hoping to see that it just
that it takes
resolves.
place as well, and
It
as
takes place
smoothly as
well.
it needs to be as well, because we were there when the first of its kind mediation center was instituted, and the trainings were going on
In Islamabad High Court.
in Islamabad
It was
High
established
Court.
already before in the Lahore High Court.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we were here in the Ministry of Law, and we had foreign trainers come in from UK. They were kind of giving trainings or imparting trainings all over the world. But now, all of a sudden, probably 2 or 3 days ago, we were in conversation with another lawyer, and they said that there's a lot of money involved now. Now, imagine that whenever we talk about alternate dispute resolution, it's more about, over here in Pakistani terminology, we would say mandwali, कि razi wazi kar lo, ye
Yes.
kar lo. So now what's happening is that people would always, unfortunately over here in our country, will take advantage of anybody's situation and then kind of get whatever they can get out of it, right? We see it from people from all walks of life, may it be people from business, may it be people from law, may it be people from, probably private institutions or government institutions as well. Do you think as a lawyer, when you go to kind of represent anybody, how many times have you come across such a situation जहाँ पे सिर्फ पैसे निकलवाने की बात हो रही होती है कि सर आप इतने दे दें मसला हल हो जाएगा?
Quite frankly, this is what you have said is true. You come across people and other service providers who would resort to such things, but then that's where the difference of a professional legal service is with just normal other service providers. And quite frankly, our people need to understand, the service provider need to understand the integrity of this profession.
Yeah.
The integrity is also only upheld when you put in the effort, when you put in the time, when you put in your whole life.
Yep.
If you see the background of lawyers were just not a common profession just for everyone. So it was, in the history, it was the profession of aristocrats. Why? Because they did not need money to actually take cases. They were just, because it was a cerebral, intellectual capacity that was there for aristocrats to get equipped with themselves with the books and all that. So normally people would not have the way to equip themselves with the books. So, but that is what we have to determine, that where this all went wrong, where this
I know that.
the profession of just making money, just making just to take a case to make some money. No, it's not like that. It's the opposite. You take, yes, I mean, there's a cost for everything. You render your services, and there is a professional cost for
That's
everything.
true, and it needs to be there.
Services.
But I'm very sorry, that I have to put it
But
out there.
I
Now
think
imagine just one simple thing.
commercialization is creeping in everywhere. So if you see in the education sector, so your universities are churning out graduates, they're not focusing on their nurturing part of that, right?
That's exactly what I wanted to share over here. Imagine that 3 or 4 of my friends happen to be lawyers. They're practicing now. They have their own firms. They're good to go. But when they were studying, they never went to their college. They never attended a single class. And when it was their exams, they would just go simply appear in their exams, and that's it, cleared. You're a lawyer. Now imagine that, for anybody to kind of call them a lawyer, I know how they have studied themselves. For me to kind of trust them with my cases, and be like, bhai, tum logo se nahi karaunga, kisi aur se kara lunga. जो कम से कम स्कूल कॉलेज गया तो होगा ना, जिसने पढ़ा तो होगा. So I think that's where we kind of did go wrong as well, and that's why we certainly want people to be more aware. Now, if we are to kind of bring you into practice, and how you've been practicing law, why don't you share your own experiences of practicing law over here in the country? Please go ahead. I think that'll be interesting.
And I think because of the paucity of the time, we would also like to request you to please explain what are some of the gaps that you see in the judicial system, and what are some of the reforms that you want to suggest, because you're the expert in the field.
Sure, I'll address the first question. When I graduated, it was, of course, a difficulty to get into a good law firm. So that is the first step, where there's so many lawyers, young lawyers, hundreds of them graduating each year, but then there is no place for any good law firms to take them on. So yes, there is somewhere exploitation is there. When I joined a law firm, there is no proper mechanism of paying your associate a stipend or just
fee.
Rather than the perception is that we are the ones who are giving them the time, they should rather pay us. So so I started off my journey. I was throughout an independent child. So although this is not something common in Pakistan for women, but then I was like this. I don't know why.
Yeah.
So I did not ask for a penny from my home when I graduated. So yes, that was something tough for me. What I did was that I took out the time and I started teaching at Bahria University. So that was my, for the first 2 years, yes. So for the first 2 years, that was something that comforted me for my day-to-day expenses. And so imagine 2 years putting in 9 a.m. Till 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. And doing all of the work, because when you are a fresh graduate, there is a difference between what you were taught at the school, which is entirely different of what you are practicing. So it's entirely different. You need to learn how to draft petitions. You need to learn how to draft your cases, to represent yourself.
Reading a lot,
to refer the cases and all that. People prefer the external foreign degrees. I was, lucky to do it. But there's pros and cons for everything. As much as it gave the exposure of how the law is, how to interpret a situation, how to deal with a situation, the external degrees did not equip you, or do not equip you with the local civil procedure code or the criminal procedure code. So you're literally way back to the Pakistani qualified students.
But so now you have a degree, but you don't know how to practice it over here.
Exactly. The pros of a Pakistani qualified, I would not like to distinctly be like, this degree is good or that degree is good. All degrees are good, but there's a different pros and cons of it. So because I've myself taught at the Bahria University, so I know that over there the CPC is being taught, but what they they lack not Berry University, but the system lacks
Being
is
politically correct.
being politically
I think
correct.
that's- yeah, she gave it away. I never
Yeah.
said that.
Yes. So it's everywhere because it's the same course
Yeah,
that
we get it,
every
we get it, we
university
get it.
actually teaches. I was just referring you to the university that I've actually
Okay,
taught.
it's okay. Yeah.
But I've given the disclaimer.
Yeah.
So the exposure is limited. Our papers were checked with, of course, by the qualified, foreign experts and all that. So that gave us a little bit,
Helped it, yeah.
Edge on that.
Edge on that. But imagine now talking about myself. Imagine not knowing what a CPC is, Civil Procedure Code is, not knowing the provisions of this Criminal Procedure Code, not even knowing Constitution of our own country, and graduating with law. Let me also add, this was the time when I graduated, but now the universities have added this component as well, and I'm very glad to see that. So fast forward, when so I graduated with all of that weaknesses, so I had to put in double the effort to recover from whatever that was missed. So putting in double the hours, everything was a lot of working hard and whatnot. And then after 2 years, I was given a stipend of just merely 25,000 rupees.
In 2016?
In 2016.
Ah, that's wonderful. But Amara, you know what? Double the effort, for whatever you've done in your life, alhamdulillah, I've actually given you double the reward as well.
Yes.
Shukr, alhamdulillah, or probably many folds. And we pray for you that, that you kind of continue to be as excellent as you are, alhamdulillah. So right, so politically correct with your words as well. And, we certainly want people like you to kind of inspire other people, which is why, we had you over here today. And inshallah, in days to come, if you're going to be a judge one day, please make sure that you do not forget us and be on the show so we can talk about that journey. But thank you so much, Amara, for being with us.
Thank you so
Lovely
much.
to be in conversation with you.
Thank
And for
you so
everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, it's people like these, who actually kind of make Pakistan proud. Now, imagine that she herself practicing in Dubai and making sure that people getting what they actually deserve is something that people will kind of reflect back, oh, gee, Miss Amara in Pakistan, so, who actually did it for us. I think that's what we do. This is going beyond boundaries as well. And people like these certainly do need a lot of prayers. It's Friday, pray for us, pray for her as well. But with that, we're actually heading on towards the short break. Once you will come back, they would always, you will see in a newspaper, we need somebody with 5 years experience. Nobody will say, okay, we need fresh graduates. So how do you get your hands onto experiential learning while you are in your university is something we will be talking about. Miss Amara Kazmi has actually highlighted that as well. With who? Well, that's a surprise after a short break. Good morning, Jummah Mubarak. Thank you so
Welcome back, and before going on to the break, I think Shahzad alluded to the conversation that we are going to develop in this segment, and I think on this show we have been constantly arguing in its favor because we see that there is a race, especially among the Pakistani education institutions, and not just Pakistani education institutions. We would find that trend also in other countries, that there is a race to churn out a lot of graduates, right?
True.
And their integration into the market is not possible, all of them, right? Because there is such a huge gap between the academia and between the market out there. And just when we are talking about these graduates, so there is this concept, especially within the third world countries, within the South Asian countries, that people have this phenomena, this flavor of having degrees, no matter if the degree suits their profession, no matter if the degree suits their skill set, which is inborn within them. Because I was having very interesting conversation with a friend of mine in the Canada, and she said that she did the degree in a subject in which her skills were not very much matching with her personality. And she said, when I came here, I got through proper counseling, and they told me that this is not exactly the sort of innate abilities that you have. That is why, although you will prosper in the field, but this is not something that you are doing from within the passion, right? And I think this is what we need in Pakistan. Instead of having more graduates mindlessly churning them out, I think we need to make sure that the innate abilities matches with their skill set, and they polish them so that they can excel not just in their profession, but they do it passionately from their heart. So what exactly does that mean? What is the scope of the vocational training within the Pakistan, vocational institutions, technical trainings, and experiential learning, because I think within the next decade or so, all of the education that we are getting it now will become abundant because of the fast evolution of the technology and yes, and the digitalization that is going on. So without any further ado, we're not monopolizing the conversation. We are very glad that we have been joined by Hafiz Qazi Sahab, who happens to be the director, ICMA Pakistan. Assalamu alaikum, sir, and thank you so much for coming to our show.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's wonderful to have you over here. And you know, so you've heard the preamble as well, and you do know how, you know, we have survived. For example, for me to be kind of on television, you know, I had to be on a program, right? You know, so there was no institute who was actually kind of going to train me that, okay, you know, so, you know, it looks like a studio and whatnot. Now, that's what the problem is, first of all. How do you think that people or academia really needs to think more about, rather than books, but experiential learning?
Right. First of all, I will briefly explain what's basically the difference between the professional education and the academic education which exists in Pakistan.
Yeah.
As we are all aware that there are over 200 universities in Pakistan who are producing thousands and thousands of graduates every year.
Yes.
And the system, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, designed by the Higher Education Commission that takes them through 4 years of theoretical education.
Yep.
And because I've got very close collaboration with the Chambers of Commerce and industry, and I've served in academic as well as the industry as well. And when I look at the employers and their mindset, they simply, they tell me that we need people who are experienced already. They learned already. We don't need people who are the bookworms.
Yeah.
As simple as that. Unfortunately. So, as you mentioned,
why unfortunately?
Unfortunately, I mean, because I see that our industry should play some role in there as well. I mean, coming from the Western world, you know, we are very familiar with the apprenticeship programs.
Yep.
So the students are in the colleges, in the universities, and all these public and private sector. They love to have the apprenticeships. Probably you heard of this, you know, very, very popular program of Sir Lord Sugar. Apprenticeship program, you are fired. So it's a very popular one. So basically, you know, these big ones, whether it's the Virgin Group or it's basically British Airways or something, they support their academia as well.
I truly get that, sir. But you know, now the point over here is because we are going to be specific on the Pakistani market as well, and what the international requirements will come down to that. Now imagine for any employer, now imagine whoever I employ for my business, I certainly want them that the first day on the work or at their job, they really need to kind of make me some money, right? You know, that's what they are there for. Now, if I am going to train him that, okay, you know, this is something which you need to do, this is something which you need to do, and this is how you will do it, these are the SOPs. Obviously, it will take me a lot more time, right? So how do you think that we can have graduates who know it before they're on job?
Yes. Coming to the point specifically, you know, I mean, if you look at the professional education climate in Pakistan, let's talk about, you know, where I come from, the accountants. The accountants are trained in Pakistan.
They are.
Along with the theoretical background plus the market skills. So soon as they graduate, whether it's coming from ICMA Pakistan or ACCA in the UK and stuff, they have sufficient knowledge as well as the skills in order to demonstrate for the employer. So employers don't really need to invest a lot in order to take these people on the career ladder. Look at the doctors. Once basically they, I mean, in good faith, because they spend a rigorous 5 years program along with the house job and stuff. So basically they have the academic as well as theoretical as well as the practical knowledge.
And such is the case with the accountants as well, because, you know, after, you know, they go through the examination, they certainly need to work with the firm for 1 year or 2 years as well. And that's like a prerequisite of their degree. But anybody who, you know, who's becoming a master's professional or probably, you know, a marketing professional or an engineering professional, you know, there's no such requirement.
Yes, I was coming to that point. Like, you know, you mentioned about how this can be, you know, the bridge can be, you know, the overcome. If you look at our degrees, 4 years degrees, I mean, rather than teaching them theoretically for 4 years, why can't we make it 3+1? So 3 years of academic process. And 1 year totally put them in one of the organizations as part of, let's say, 2-semester program. So they will have the same kind of time period, like 4 years, but those candidates who are going to come out after 4 years, I'm sure they would be a lot better thinkers, a lot better, like diverse people having different kind of skill sets.
But sir,
But
there's a
do you
difference of
think,
opinion.
because I don't think so that every organization are going to accept so many graduates or so many students who are working in the university, because I do remember when we were studying in a bachelor's program, so there was a compulsory 6 weeks internship program,
Yep.
so that we can get integrated with the market and we are familiarized with that. But I don't think so that's a very useful way of linking with the market, because not everyone does the
And
internship.
everybody gets a letter made from,
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
So the
Exactly.
meritocracy is a big issue.
Yeah.
But now let's talk about one of the important points, which I think especially in education system might be missing or might be there, is the critical thinking skills,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
like I mentioned in our introduction that in the next decade or so, all of this study is going to get obsolete or may get redundant, because there are not going to be new jobs that are created. So do you think that our education system is aligned with the coming needs of the market and the demands?
It's a very valid question, actually. When I was actually working as the head of cluster at Air University, we used to have this system of case-based learning.
studied at Air University.
Yes. Did you? Oh, brilliant. In the management sciences, we used to have the case-based learning.
Yep.
A couple of years ago, I joined ICMA Pakistan, and that's where basically they had introduced the case-based learning as well, which is slightly different than the orthodox lecture-based approach.
Yep.
When basically when it basically you mentioned about the critical thinking. So how our questions are, okay, when was Pakistan established, or basically what are 14 points of Qaeda Muhammad Ali Jinnah?
Yeah.
So what, when, this, that's not the in critical
Broad
thinking, you
memorization.
give them a real world life scenario and then tell them, okay, you can make the wrong decision, but at least make a decision. So that's where basically, these gray cells of the students, they start embarking, and that's where they learn. And another, I think I should add with this critical thinking, if, there's a introduction of this startups. So maybe, 6-month startup program in any university or any professional institution, if they put them on, like ICM has started the incubation centers with collaboration of NIC, which was a success story. Those people, I mean, frankly speaking, I think, the stall owner, fruit stall owner, he's got a lot more planning and critical thinking compared to, unfortunately, a graduate.
Exactly, and thank you so much for saying that, because imagine that, just a few days ago, I think probably in Ramadan, I was in conversation with a fruit owner, and I kind of asked him, why don't you kind of innovate to do something else? And he was like, sir, aap kitna kama lete hain? And I was like, this, sir, main aapse zyada kama leta hu.
Wow.
So imagine that a fruit owner, certainly, but sir,
Please don't think of changing your career.
Exactly, no, but with this, I want you to kind of focus over here. Now imagine that the top 500 Fortune companies who are changing the way that we see the world now say that we do not need a degree. We want you to do this for us. If you can do that, if you're good at it, you're hired. That's number one. Number two, now imagine that we certainly need academia to be in line with what our country needs. Now imagine that for a country who's under insufficient economic burden, I think what we really want is more entrepreneurs. Now imagine that that the academia is not preparing students for them to be businessmen or businesswomen, or to go out in the world and do what the people are doing, online learning courses. There's so many online universities these days, and the universities aren't really thinking in these lines. Now people are probably paying $500, $1,000 for a course online. They'll learn from there, and that's it. So do you think that in days to come, basic learning, read, write, that's it, critical thinking, and then, okay, what do you want to do in life? Just cut away short to that. 14-year-old is making $20,000 a month. 20 years old is making $1 million a month, right? We see these cases. How do you think that we can go match that?
I give you an example. Actually, I was in London few months ago, and I got a friend of mine. Actually, he is the head of Barclays, the banking sector. He also owns
Got a great office
an
in
IT.
London, though.
Yeah, I know, Canary Wharf. He also owns an IT company, and we were discussing, because he knows that I come from academic background and he comes from the industry, banking industry. So I mean, we were talking about, and he was of the view that given the chance, if the Higher Education Commission or these educational authorities, they give him the approval, they will actually take people on board, say for 4 years, no problem with that. but he's not going to put them through the orthodox learning.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 semesters, as you mentioned,
True.
and then another 6 months experiential, then another semester for the theoretical. Then this is how the 4 years are going to go through, and then they will teach them the specific skill sets required. For example, if they are working in IT, then they will teach them those IT skills.
True.
If they are going to work in HR or marketing, then they will equip them, instill them relevant skills, accounting and finance, those skills. But rather than basically, giving them 4 years of theoretical knowledge and books and books and books, why not put them along with the employers, put them along with these entrepreneurs, and they will learn a lot actually.
Exactly. And do you think that it will help the country, it will help the economy of the country? And do you think that in days to come, universities might be a little scared of losing a lot of students too as well, because there's so much online learning and options available for people out there?
No, I think there's no fear as far as the universities
should
are
be,
concerned.
though.
They would actually, I think they would think about changing their approach. So rather than basically thinking at a negative point, they will think in a positive way. I mean, many people, I think you still remember that if people are qualified, they're educated, and they leave the country, many people used to think, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, there was a brain drain.
Yeah, we don't think
Many
that.
people were going.
Now we think that it's human resource utilization.
Exactly. Interestingly, most of the modern world, I'm quoting the EU countries,
Yep.
like Ireland, more than 20% of their workforce doesn't work in Ireland. They work in other parts of the world because they have the right skills.
I don't
So
think
the
Ireland's still a part of the European Union though, but yeah.
Ireland
it's
is part of the
Yeah.
EU.
No, Ireland
Yeah.
is a part
Yeah,
of the EU.
okay.
as
I'm
well.
talking
Ireland.
the Dublin one.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah.
talking about the
Okay.
Belfast one.
Yeah, that's good. Well, thank you so much, sir, for saying that, because imagine that I think that this is the need of the hour. We've always been speaking or talking about, how do we bridge the gap of academia and all of these people, how we
Yeah.
really need to kind of be centric, specific about what they need to learn. We hope that in days to come that it's going to happen. How do you think ICMA is doing that?
I see. As I mentioned, about a year and a half ago, we started with the incubation center.
Okay.
We've got 11 centers across Pakistan and 5 branches around the world. We've got the head office in Karachi, and we've set up the incubation center in Karachi, Lahore, and Islamabad. Interestingly, from the Islamabad, where basically the northern chapter which I head, I was very scared how these people will become entrepreneur, because it was a very, very new venture.
Yeah.
But having said that, many success stories came out. I mean, I'm quoting a guy who is actually working in the incubation center. He has developed the right skills. He's providing the services, and trust me, he's earning more than I do
MashaAllah.
in dollars.
MashaAllah. Okay, at this point of time, to kind of wrap up this conversation, one more thing. Do you think that, to make somebody an entrepreneur, we want entrepreneurs to come and teach them? Or do you think that anybody who's never done a business of any single penny can actually come and teach them?
You nailed it, and you read my mind. Because very interestingly, I was attending a seminar on the entrepreneurship, different stages. And when it finished, after about 3 hours, then I was talking to this Professor Saab over a cup of tea. And I said, sir, talking about his background and stuff like that. And to my surprise, actually, he always taught. He always taught. That's why I was mentioning that you bring a rediwala.
Yeah.
And I think he will tell you a better inventory planning.
That's true.
How many kilos of apple, how many, dozens of oranges I have to bring today,
Exactly.
what the price should I set, how to make sure that any of those which are going to expire, which hotel I need to talk to, which restaurant I need to talk to. So, I mean, you nailed it. You really need to bring the real entrepreneurs
People who've done it
rather than
themselves.
from the academic background.
case
Exactly.
studies,
But thank
yes.
you so much, sir, for being with us. Lovely
My
to be in
pleasure, sir.
conversation
My
with you.
pleasure. Thank you so much.
Specifically, where people are actually thinking on the lines of modern teaching ways as well and methods. Thank you so much for being with
Thank
us.
you
And
so
for
much.
everybody who's
Likewise.
out there, ladies and gentlemen, just in continuation of what sir said, so for anybody, because this kid went viral on social media where this lady actually went to him and asked for tomatoes and, for how much a kilo are you giving? And the gentleman or the kid actually spoke, we're giving it for 100 rupees. And she said that, you just gave somebody for 60 rupees. He was like, yes, obviously I'm going to give you for 60 rupees, but you're going to argue for 40 rupees as well. So that's why I was keeping that margin. I think it can happen with everybody. We certainly want people, who are leading today's world, for them to come and teach and preach. And I think that's the way to follow. For everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, all we need these days is to make sure that we have our eyes open all the time. that we are observant of what's going on in the world. I think that's the only thing that we need to do. There's so many opportunities available. So please make sure that you never come up with such an excuse, "Mere se to hota nahi hai." I think you can do it. If we can do it, you can do it too as well.
And with that, we are bidding you farewell. Allah Hafiz. Until next time, it's a goodbye and Jummah Mubarak to everyone out there.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Allah Hafiz.